Okay, folks, welcome back. As promised, I have as my guest Rod Martin, and I just want to effuse, not a verb often used, but I want to effuse about Rod Martin because on X, I've been following Rod Martin for some time, and I think there is literally nobody who does a better job of talking about the events of the day, what's going on from a perspective that I find hugely helpful. So, Rod Martin, welcome to the program.
Great to be here.
You give me hope. I read your stuff on X, and it's high time I introduced my audience to you. And so thanks for what you do. I mean, just to give background, you're the founder and CEO of Martin Capital. You're a financial guy, you're a business guy, you work with Peter Thiel at PayPal. What got you into doing what you're doing now with the Rod Martin report? Because I don't want to be so effusive that I'm gushing, probably too late for that. But honestly, I am just so encouraged by the stuff that you post on X and elsewhere. How did you get into this?
Well, I appreciate that. And, everything in life is ministry. I'm also a recent former officer of the executive committee of the Southern Baptist Convention, been involved in party politics since I was a kid. And, we have to look at all these things holistically. We are not one-trick ponies. It's not enough to just go to work and do your job. You've got to be a full-orbed person and serve the Lord in every area of life. And we have a lot of reason for hope in this country. We're at an extraordinary moment. We have just come through 90 years of what amounted to sort of a stealth one-party rule. That's what the deep state is. It was FDR's effort to put in place a gigantic bureaucracy, 2.5 to 3 million people running every detail of your life without any accountability, without any ability for a president to fire them, completely unelected. And guess what? That worked for FDR because they were all Democrats. So they were going to do whatever he wanted anyway. It's when you get an Eisenhower or a Reagan or a Nixon or a Bush or a Trump that it all goes off the rails. And people wonder why their elections don't seem to matter. They wonder why it is that they vote for the right guy and then nothing really changes. Well, Trump is actually making it change. We're actually going at the deep state tooth and nail. And there's real hope for a new birth of freedom in this country.
I tell you, my heart leaps at everything you're saying. I agree with everything you're saying. It's why I wanted to get you on this program, because there are not very many who think what you were saying and who articulate what you just said as you do every day. We need to kind of keep our eyes on the prize, understand what's going on, understand the war in which we find ourselves, and praise God that he is giving us the victory, that it is his will to give us the victory to get our country back. I have to say, most of us, I don't know about you, but I'm certainly guilty, I was really not aware of anything like the deep state until really 2020, when it really exploded in everybody's faces. I mean, I think 2016, many of us began to get a sense of it. But we are living in historical times. It's very exciting. And you just said it. And I have used Lincoln's phrase as well, that I believe that Lincoln was speaking prophetically when he talked about a new birth of freedom. We didn't get that after Lincoln. But it seems to me that we're now on the verge of that.
I think that's true. And it's in so many different directions. What Elon's doing with SpaceX is truly going to be transformative. We really are going to become a multiplanetary species over the next several decades. When he talks about 1 million people living and working in space by late mid-century, he may be being conservative. And in the process of that, you also create a technology that would allow the Pentagon to move an armored division anywhere on Earth in an hour. or move huge amounts of passengers and cargo literally anywhere on Earth in that same 40 minutes or less. It's an extraordinary shrinking of the world and a tremendous expansion of humanity. And the question is that going to be in the hands of free peoples? Or is that going to be in the hands of totalitarians such as the CCP? And that's what's being decided right now.
Yes, that is the issue. I would not have leapt to the interplanetary part. That's one place where I take issue with Elon Musk. It seems to me preposterous to care about whether we need to move to Mars. I mean, maybe he doesn't know, but last I checked, there is no atmosphere on Mars, which is a deal breaker for me and my family. We insist on an atmosphere, and God has given us an atmosphere on, last I checked, one planet where I can actually go outside and breathe, which is very important to me. It's a fundamental. But what you just said about moving armies around the world in and out, what are you referring to there? Because I'm not up on this.
Well, Starship is a tremendous platform, and it's not a one shot like the Saturn V going to the moon. And by the way, the Apollo capsules had an atmosphere. So you just got to expand the volume of the area that is encompassed in that. But
Sure.
nevertheless, you have these completely expendable vehicles that the space industrial complex has been saddling with us my entire lifetime and before that. And then you have Starship, which is 100% reusable. And the difference is very much like buying a ticket on a 737 to travel to LA versus building an entire 737, flying to LA once and throwing it away. So the same technology that can get you to Mars can also get you to Nairobi or get you to Hong Kong. And you don't have to do it with just one of them. Elon's gearing up to build a Starship a day. Just Star Factory, just at Starbase, Texas, right now, is capable of a Starship a day. That's easily 1,000 in 3 years. And that's actually a heavy lift capability for the Pentagon that would do what we did trying to deploy in say, 1990 when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. Took us 6 months to get the army in place. You could move that exact same amount of men and material in under an hour with a fleet of these things. And what that does for commerce and for bringing humanity together is equally impressive. As far as space, you're going to like space a lot. And the reason you will is because it's going to dramatically reduce the price of basically every commodity on the planet and energy as well. There's a tremendous amount of helium-3 on the moon, which we don't have on Earth in any meaningful quantity. That's going to make mass scale fusion power cheap, abundant, and ubiquitous, and it's going to transform humanity.
I think your great learning has made you mad, Rod Martin, in a good way. In a good way. I think, gosh, there's so much here. This is the frustration. I want to have you back because we're not going to get to cover anything. What, just to look at, super current events right now. You obviously believe, as I do, that Trump is on a mission from God to help us do what no Republican president even lifted his finger to try to do in our lifetimes, to take the country back from what we now call the deep state, the military industrial complex. And we really have the opportunity. We're actually doing it right now. What is happening right now in this administration that gives you hope?
Well, first of all, what you just said, and you know that our friend Jim Dobson, is convinced that Donald Trump got saved a number of years back. I know a lot of people might dispute that, but that's kind of between Trump and God. What is very clear is that a year ago at Butler, Pennsylvania, Trump went through something so traumatic that it really pales in comparison to most things people experience. And his immediate response was to praise God. his immediate response was to credit God with his deliverance, and he continues to do so. So I think he thinks he's on a mission from God, which is possibly the most important aspect of this. He believes he's doing good in the world. He thinks he's setting some things right that have been askew, and he is working just tirelessly to do it. The only person in the world who might work harder than Donald Trump is Elon Musk, and I'm not even sure of that. So, what we're seeing is the result of 4 years of what amounted to a deep state coup. That's unraveling now. Kash Patel just announced this new wide-ranging criminal conspiracy investigation into a tremendous number of things over the last decade. And
hang on, Rod. We're going to a break. I want to pick up on what you just said. This is exciting, folks. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back. I'm excited because I'm talking to Rod Martin about a lot of good things happening in this country right now. You were just, when we went to the break, talking about how Kash Patel is launching a criminal investigation against some of these deeply wicked figures, Brennan, Comey. I think many people have dreamt of this day. And again, this is just one thing that needs dealing with. But the idea that this is actually happening, because I think in the past, most of us have become kind of cynical to think like, well, nothing's ever going to happen. But by the grace of God, it seems like things are happening.
Well, the conspiracy angle is tremendously important because it obviates the problem of the statute of limitations. Many of these crimes faced a 5-year statute and are now beyond prosecution. But if it's an ongoing conspiracy, they're all in the dragnet and they're all back in play. And so it's really telling that this is where Patel went with it. They really do mean business, and I think we could see some real results. Why does that matter? Well, because they basically tried to overthrow the government. They interfered in at least one presidential election, and actually 3, but certainly the 2016 election. When that didn't go the way they imagined, they proceeded to try to torpedo an elected president with things they knew to be false. And that has become clear now, too, from the documentary evidence that the FBI has brought forward and that the CIA just declassified. And then we saw all the mess in 2020. Then we saw which included the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, where the FBI actually had the laptop in their possession, had authenticated it, and allowed leaders of the intelligence community to just lie to the public right and left. We have at least one poll that shows that was the difference in the election. And then, of course, in 2024, you have ongoing issues where the government, working in conjunction with the media, are seeking to throw an election. This is corrupt, and we really saw it when we got into USAID and we discovered that your tax dollars were going surreptitiously through a venue that's supposed to be about hunger relief overseas, and actually taking that money and propping up major American media outlets to get them to torpedo one side in our politics. This is horribly, horribly wrong. This is Venezuela level stuff. And if Donald Trump is able to root that out, that alone would be a legacy worth the history books. But of course, that's not all he's doing. And I'm tremendously hopeful about the next 3.5 years.
Well, I am as well, and I praise God every day. I have to say, I'm simply astonished. We're living in dramatically historic times. And I know that none of us dreamt a few decades ago that we could be here, that we could see what we're seeing, and that the evil, I mean, when we talk about the authoritarianism with COVID, I never dreamt I would see that kind of thing in America. The suppression of truth, the suppression of science, it goes on and on and on. The cynical view that these elites have toward the voters, toward we, the people, for whom patriots have died, that we would have a voice in our own government, be able to govern ourselves, how the globalist elites sneer at the ideas of the founders. And we are now dealing with this. And by the grace of God, Donald Trump gets it and is dealing with it in a way. Obviously, he would not have been dealing with it this way, I think, if he had won or if he had been president, in the last 4 years. Something, it seems to me that he became radicalized because of what he saw that they had done to him and his family.
No, I completely agree. And I mean, the second term would have been very much driven by inertia. They had learned a lot, they had figured out a lot, including who was stabbing them in the back and who was thwarting their efforts. That's all fine and good. But 4 years in exile gave him and his team time to really figure out, okay, what went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Why were we thwarted in places where, by all rights and Constitution and everything else, we should have been successful? How do we go after that? The plan they've come up with is obviously brilliant. It's working on a level that nothing ever has. And yes, it's extraordinary what Trump and God has done in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to say it over and over. This is God's hand. We don't deserve this. We deserve to
No.
go the way of Venezuela. We deserve Kamala Harris to be president. And by the grace of God, God has shown his mercy to us. And we have the ability, and we're now in a war, to take our country back, to get back to founding principles. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. And so, well, let's talk more about some of the details. I think we're out of time in this segment. We'll be right back, folks. I'm talking to Rod Martin. Folks, welcome back in hour two. We got John Zmirak, and right now I'm talking to Rod Martin. Rod, we got to get you back because already in this final segment, I realized there's so much I want to talk to you about. We're never going to get to begin to cover it. But what else is happening right now that gives you hope in this country? Now, by the way, you mentioned Elon Musk. One of the saddest things to me was Elon petulantly going after Trump. And I just thought, man, when I see people on our team, people who believe in, attacking the woke mind virus, attacking, a big corrupt government, I just think we're all on the same team. And I think it broke so many people's hearts to see Elon kind of act out that way. He's obviously an unstable super genius, but I do believe he is a force for good.
Oh, he absolutely is. And more so all the time. And we can thank our friends at the Babylon Bee for that in no small measure. They've been witnessing to him. They're the ones who put him on to the idea of acquiring Twitter in the first place, which without which I don't know that we would have free speech in this country, and we certainly wouldn't have President Trump. So, he is a tremendous force for good. He is not a believer. We should all be praying for him. I pray for him every day. But, what he is doing is truly phenomenal. Now, you said heartbreak. That's exactly how I felt about the falling out. I literally sent him a picture of Trump with little X on the White House lawn and said, "Make up for the sake of the children." It's just so sad. But nevertheless, Elon is an interesting character. He has publicly disclosed that he's a little autistic. And I think we saw a little bit of that here. And I hope that it comes back together. I think it will. But since you asked, about issues, there are so many we could cover. But the big one that I think we must focus on is the one I was talking about earlier today on Frank Gaffney's show, which is this constant battle between what is honestly best characterized as imperialism versus nationalism. And that is really where Trump is. That's really what America First is about. The idea that discrete groups of people should be able to rule themselves and not be ruled by an elite in a distant capital. And when we see what the World Health Organization is doing, Trump just pulled us out of it again, but that doesn't take effect until January. When we see the kinds of things that they're doing in this CCP inspired and funded global health treaty. It's just totalitarian. You see, yet again, the age-old battle is real. The idea that a nation state should exist where its people decide its future is just anathema to these global elites who want to create what amounts to an empire through unelected bureaucracies in Brussels and Geneva and wherever, and want desperately to rule us, to rule you. And they have had a lot of success in the last several decades. Donald Trump is such a threat to them because he gets it and he's thwarting it. And we really have a hope for a future.
Well, this one of the things I was talking about when I started the program today, and I spoke about it yesterday, it's very upsetting to me to see people that I love, like Steve Bannon, attacking Elon Musk viciously. And I just think this is such a terrible, I keep seeing this. I don't know why Steve Bannon feels the need to attack Elon Musk. I'm sure he's saying some things that are valuable, but it really, it's part of a problem that I think that we have on the right.
We're really bad about eating our own. We've got to stop it. We are all in this together. As one of the founders, I believe Franklin, said, we must all hang together or we will surely hang separately. And I really would love to see Bannon and Elon make up also.
I thought it was John Hancock who said that. Actually, I can't
May have
remember.
been Hancock. Yeah.
I don't know. We know somebody said it, but that's the whole point. I mean, I'm writing a book about the American Revolution, a big
Oh,
book,
great.
come out next year. And when you see who those men were and the ideas that by the grace of God, they were able to enact to bring this nation into being, that's really, when people talk about America first or what, it's all about, it's America. I mean, it's the founding vision of America that we have to get back to. And it's utterly inescapable that this is a Christian vision. And part of this inescapably Christian vision is religious liberty. In other words, you cannot legislate Christianity. We cannot become an officially Christian nation, but it's only because we understand that we are genuinely a Christian nation and that we can have genuine self-government. And all this stuff has to be relearned because we've had a couple of generations that have not learned this. Certainly not in colleges, but neither have they learned it in high school.
This country is built on a Christian consensus, not a state religion, but just a common consciousness. And that was even more so at the time of the founding. I just wrote about this. Actually, you would love this piece. My 4th of July piece was on the Christian worldview of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the reality that what Jefferson is doing there, even though he is not personally a believer, he's writing for a largely Christian audience at the Continental Congress and also for the broader public. And the idea of the pursuit of happiness is much broader than Lockean property. It's about fulfilling your calling in the way you best see fit. And it's just tremendously revolutionary. But even more revolutionary than that is the idea that these are unalienable rights that we are endowed with by our Creator. There was no question in their mind that God is above government, that our rights derive from Him and not from the state, and therefore the state may not infringe them. And that is anathema to tyrants.
Where do we think that idea first came from? I mean, I always have trouble because I'm writing a book on this. The idea that our rights came from God. Who would have first said that? It's not really clear.
Well, it's inherent in the scripture. I mean, if you have a duty not to murder somebody,
Yeah.
you also have a right not to be murdered. And,
Right.
and so, we have that all baked into the biblical cake. But, the most important figure, I think, to the founders in many respects was Samuel Rutherford with Lex Rex, the idea that the law is the king, not the king is the law. Rutherford's not perfect, but he was brilliant. And that really confused the convention.
Yes, yes. Well, forgive me, Rod. We're out of time. We'll have to get you back as soon as possible. Folks, go to rodmartin.org. Is it .org? Yes.
Yes.
rodmartin.org. Rod Martin, thank you so much.
Thank you.